Atlantis. The name alone invokes images of mermaids, sunken ruins, and ancient technologically advanced civilizations. Most of that is poppycock, but the true story of Atlantis is almost as weird.
So what do Nazis have to do with this mythological lost civilization?
Here's a look at the strange history of Atlantis. Plato. To understand the origins of Atlantis, you need to know a little about the Greek philosopher Plato. The best known and most influential philosopher of all time, Plato often used allegorical stories to convey meaning. And roughly 2,400 years ago, he came up with a humdinger of a story, the lost city of Atlantis. In Plato's original story, Atlantis was a powerful, advanced country on a huge landmass somewhere west of Europe. But then, some 9,000 years before Plato's time, the Atlanteans became warlike, displeasing the gods, who sank Atlantis beneath the waves with a series of earthquakes. It's widely assumed that Plato was speaking completely allegorically when he wrote of Atlantis, but Plato did also have the habit of drawing on legends from ancient Egypt as well, so it's possible the legend predates Plato. Either way, within just a couple generations, plenty of literal-minded people were believing that Atlantis was a totally real place. It's not a real place. For centuries, there was no consensus among scholars whether Atlantis was real or not. But after Columbus accidentally ended up in the Americas in 1492, the idea that Atlantis might have been real began to take off, with some Europeans believing that the advanced Mayan civilization was proof that they were descended from ancient Atlantis. In 1882, a book called Atlantis, the Antediluvian World by Ignatius Donnelly took things one step further by suggesting that Atlantis was actually the secret birthplace of all humanity. The book was a smash hit, prompting a worldwide search for the true location of Atlantis. Shockingly, nobody has ever actually found it. Artistic license. Donnelly's book, along with the classic 1870 novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, helped spark an Atlantis fad throughout arts and literature, one that has never really subsided. From the 1899 novel The Lost Continent, The Story of Atlantis, to recent works like Artemis Fowl, Atlantis has been a staple of literature and television for generations, not to mention film. The first 4 movies to feature Atlantis were all adaptations of the 1919 novel Atlantida, which proposed a novel twist that Atlantis was actually in the middle of the Sahara, an idea that is carried over to modern films like Aquaman.
We're getting close now.
Oh yeah? Close to what? Dying of thirst? There's no way Atlanteans were this far inland.
And there have been dozens of movies where characters visit Atlantis, including Disney's 2001 feature Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Most importantly, in 1994, MacGyver found Atlantis in a TV movie. And Atlantis is also the home of superheroes Namor the Submariner and Aquaman, ensuring the mythical city will remain relevant well into the 21st century. Nazis are dumb. Atlantis isn't the only mythical lost civilization swallowed by the sea. There's also the lost city of Ys, not to mention High Brazil, which was supposedly an island off the coast of Ireland and has nothing to do with the actual Brazil.
Brazil is sinking!
Well, my dear, I think you'll find it's all a question of what you want to believe in, and I happen to have more experience in these matters than you do, I think.
But outside of Atlantis, the most important is Lemuria. See, at one point, someone realized that there were once lemurs on both sides of the Indian Ocean, so they figured the most obvious explanation must be a lost continent in the middle of the ocean that was once home to a bunch of lemurs. Don't laugh though, because Lemuria is very serious business, especially for Nazis. Remember how the Nazis in Indiana Jones are always obsessed with the occult? Well, turns out that was actually true, and Lemuria and Atlantis both play key roles. See, a lot of Nazi philosophy is based in the occult writings of Russian circus performer Madame H.P. Blavatsky. She wrote a book called The Secret Doctrine, which she claimed was dictated in Atlantis itself, and which detailed the 7 root races of humanity, in order of their development. 1. Invisible jellyfish. 2. Hyperboreans, who lived at the North Pole but did not have bodies. 3. Egg-laying lemurs of lost Lemuria. 4. The Atlanteans. 5. The Aryans, of course. 6 and 7? Nobody's sure yet, but when they arrive, they will definitely live on Venus. So Nazi philosophy is based on the idea that Aryans are a master race descended from the Hyperborean ancestors of Atlantis, not to mention invisible jellyfish and imaginary lemurs. Hey, nobody ever said Nazis were the sharpest tools in the shed. Science versus Aquaman. Sorry, fans of Atlantis and lemur people, but science has pretty much debunked the whole idea of a lost continent in the Atlantic. You can thank geology and modern seafloor mapping technology for that. According to Live Science, we now know enough about plate tectonics to know that it is impossible for a large landmass to have sunk to the sea floor within human history.
Plate tectonics!
Plus, there has never been a recorded earthquake anywhere near strong enough to sink a continent-sized landmass. Sorry, Aquaman, but look on the bright side. If you need a new home, you can always crash at SeaWorld.
I dig it.